In the Middle Ages, warfare primarily took the form of sieges. Capturing a castle, the ultimate symbol of local economic and political power, was the strategic key to controlling an entire region. Military units garrisoned in a castle could effectively impede supply lines, making the siege an extremely effective method of projecting power. However, conquering a castle was never simple. Castles were sophisticated, defensive fortresses, designed to withstand the most brutal and prolonged attacks with their thick stone walls and high battlement. Therefore, medieval armies had to evolve. They developed a vast and specialized variety of siege engines and tactics complex, often horrifying machines to enhance their offensive capabilities and overcome those daunting stone defenses. In the following segments, we are going to explore the technology that truly defined medieval warfare. We'll look at the power, the ingenuity, and the destructive legacy of these colossal weapons. Following are 7 of the most iconic and devastating siege weapons used in medieval history. Number 1. Counterweight trebuchet. It represented the pinnacle of medieval siege technology, a powerful war engine that leveraged pure physics and mechanical advantage. The key difference from its predecessors was the use of a massive, heavy counterweight, often thousands of pounds of lead or stone, to generate the rotational force. This counterweight provided far superior power and range than human traction. These trebuchets were often colossal in scale, standing between 10 and 30 meters tall. Their height allowed the throwing arm to rotate through an arc wider than 180 degrees, maximizing the mechanical advantage. The projectile arm was typically 3 to 6 times longer than the counterweight arm, dramatically amplifying the speed. For example, a model at Warwick Castle, 18 meters high, could launch a heavy 36 kilograms projectile over 300 meters. The trebuchet's power relied entirely on gravity and the counterweight's inertia. Potential energy was stored by slowly lifting the massive counterweight. When released, the tremendous falling force rapidly rotated the arm, launching the projectile. Trebuchets could launch a terrifying variety of ordnance: massive stone balls to batter walls, incendiary materials, dead animals to spread disease, or even the bodies of enemy soldiers for psychological warfare. Despite being complex and slow to reload, the counterweight trebuchet remained the dominant siege weapon until the late Middle Ages, before being replaced by gunpowder cannons. Number 2. Mangonel, the more efficient thrower. A robust type of stone-throwing machine that originated in China and was introduced to Europe in the 6th century by the nomadic Avars. Unlike earlier torsion engines, the mangonel relied on human traction, leveraging a simpler mechanical principle. The basic structure included a large upright frame with a long throwing arm attached at the top. This arm rotated around a vertical axis and was powered by a large group of men, sometimes 50 or more, quickly pulling ropes attached to the short end of the arm. The collective, synchronized pulling force created tremendous energy. When released, the arm drove the projectile held in a spoon-shaped basket or sling upwards and over the walls. Compared to torsion engines, the mangonel was simpler and significantly easier to build, requiring less specialized expertise. This simplicity also allowed for a rapid loading process, enabling the crews to maintain a surprisingly high rate of fire and creating continuous attack pressure on the walls and the defenders' morale. While it lacked the sheer destructive power and range of the later counterweight trebuchet, the mangonel was superior in its utility and rapid deployment. With its effectiveness and high rate of fire, the mangonel served as the essential workhorse of many armies until the advent of the more powerful counterweight trebuchet. Number 3 is the battering ram. Perhaps it was the most elementary, yet brutally effective, siege weapon, used to destroy gates and collapse the lower sections of walls through repeated, concentrated impact. Its design consisted of a large, heavy timber beam. This beam could be carried and swung manually by a group of men, or, more effectively, suspended from a sturdy wooden frame, a testudo, and controlled by chains or ropes to create a powerful pendulum-like swing. The beam was thrust forcefully and repeatedly into the target, a gate or a weakened section of the wall pulverizing the stonework. To protect the operators from arrows, boiling liquids, or dropped stones, the ram was usually covered by a heavy roof lined with thick, wet animal hides. These wet hides served a dual purpose. They protected the crew from fire and offered some cushioning from projectiles. To maximize the destructive force, the head of the ram was often fitted with a heavy iron or steel block, sometimes shaped like an animal head. The battering ram was immensely popular due to its ease of construction and simple brute force application. It possessed immense destructive power against the most vulnerable point of a fortress, the gate. This invention had very ancient origins, dating back to ancient Egypt. Military leaders like Alexander the Great improved its design by adding rollers or wheels to the frame to increase the speed and attacking power of the ram's swing. Despite the introduction of complex stone-throwing machines, the ram remained an essential, terrifying close-quarters weapon until the very end of the medieval period. Number 4. Siege Tower. The siege tower was not a projectile weapon, but a crucial piece of mobile, strategic, military infrastructure. Its entire purpose was to allow attacking soldiers to move safely closer to the walls, protecting them from the lethal rain of the defenders' arrows and projectiles. Once in position, it offered a path directly onto the enemy's fortifications. The siege tower was a massive, rectangular wooden structure, built to be the same height or taller than the wall it targeted. Inside were ramps and several standing platforms. At the very top, an open observation deck allowed archers to fire down onto the defenders, suppressing their fire. To move this colossal structure, it was fitted with large wheels, or rollers, and pulled by teams of horses, oxen, or large groups of men pushing from the rear. The exterior was crucial for defense, often covered with a protective layer of wet animal hides or iron plating to prevent the defenders from successfully igniting the structure with fire arrows. The ultimate goal was to push the siege tower right up to the base of the wall. Once adjacent, a heavy drawbridge-like plank was dropped from the top platform to create a walkway. This was the moment of maximum danger. Soldiers would immediately rush across the plank to seize the enemy's battlements. Due to their immense size, siege towers were very slow to maneuver and often became easy targets for heavy projectiles. The introduction of the gunpowder cannon gradually diminished the role of the siege tower, as its massive wooden structure was easily shattered by cannonballs. Number 5 is Ballista aka, the large-scale catapult. An ancient and highly effective siege weapon designed primarily to fire large, heavy arrows or massive stones, with a low, flat trajectory directly at walls and fortifications. Its appearance resembled a giant crossbow mounted on a sturdy base. Its power source was the complex torsion spring. Instead of a simple bow stave, the ballista used two powerful levers attached to intricate torsion springs. These springs were made from tightly coiled bundles of rope, sinew, or interwoven animal fibers that generated tremendous tension when wounded. The energy stored was released when the trigger was pulled, rapidly driving the levers forward to launch the projectile with high velocity and accuracy. The ballista was originally a Greek invention, later adopted and extensively used by the Romans under military leaders like Alexander the Great. Its flexible design allowed the ballista to be armed with two primary types of ammunition: large iron-tipped bolts or arrows and heavy stone projectiles. The destructive capability of the best models was formidable. Historical sources claim some of the most powerful versions could shoot projectiles up to 1,000 meters. Its relatively compact size allowed the ballista to be mounted in various locations, including on the platforms of siege towers, providing crucial close-range fire suppression for the advancing troops. Number 6. Springald Bolt Projector. Functioned on the same torsion principle as the ballista, but it was designed for a different tactical role and featured a distinct, compact, structural configuration. While the ballista looked like a giant crossbow, the springald was generally constructed around a rectangular wooden frame with moving arms operating internally. The core of the springald's power lay in the use of tightly coiled torsion ropes to power two internal levers or arms. When the arms were drawn back and released, the immense tension was rapidly unleashed, launching the projectile through the front of the frame. It was primarily designed to fire large metal bolts or quarrels with high velocity, though it could also be adapted to fire smaller stones. The springald held a tactical advantage in its ability to be used in more confined spaces. It was particularly useful for defending fortifications, as it could be placed within a castle's own towers or hidden behind the battlements, providing a sudden and powerful counterfire against attacking forces. Historical accounts suggest that the Byzantines also employed the springald to fire their devastating incendiary weapon known as Greek fire. 12th and 13th century sources confirm their widespread use, And inventor Leonardo da Vinci also documented detailed designs for this type of torsion-powered weapon, demonstrating the enduring ingenuity of the Springald's compact engineering principle. Number 7. The Game Changer, aka the cannon. It stands apart. It was not a traditional medieval siege weapon, but a technological singularity whose emergence completely reshaped siege warfare and almost instantly rendered many of the sophisticated weapons and tactics mentioned above obsolete. Its arrival marked the clear transition from the Middle Ages to the early modern era of warfare. The cannon fundamentally changed the equation of a siege by introducing gunpowder, a chemical explosive that provided a completely superior source of destructive power compared to the mechanical energy of torsion or gravity. Early cannons, appearing in Europe around the 14th century, provided greater kinetic energy than any stone-throwing engine. The primary role of the trebuchet, that of slowly battering down the curtain wall, was usurped by the cannon's iron or stone projectiles, which could shatter a massive stone wall in days. The cannon's presence alone significantly diminished the role of the siege tower. The towering wooden structures, which previously only had to fear fire, were now easily shattered by a single, well-aimed cannon shot, making them a tactical liability. Furthermore, the cannon rendered the thick, tall stone walls of the castle, the very symbol of medieval power, increasingly vulnerable, forcing military architects to abandon high vertical defenses for low, thick, earth-backed fortifications designed to deflect cannon fire. The cannon became the ultimate game changer, shifting the advantage decisively from the defender to the attacker. By the 16th century, the era of the trebuchet was over, and the age of artillery dominance had begun. From the human-powered brute force of the battering ram to the mechanical elegance of the trebuchet, and finally, to the revolutionary power of the cannon, you've witnessed the technological arms race that defined a millennium of warfare. These incredible machines weren't just tools, they were reflections of human ingenuity under pressure, designed to breach the most formidable barriers ever built. Thank you for watching this video on Flow of History. If you're fascinated by the raw, unfiltered engineering and strategic realities of the past, we have plenty more stories for you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell below to support the team, and catch our next fascinating story where we delve deep into the forgotten corners of history.